OCO. My name is Larry Gent, and I'm coming to you from my improvised recording studio to remind you that Native American Ministry Sunday is April 26th this year. It comes as we face unprecedented times in our nation and all of creation. Many among us are struggling with our finances, and that includes our congregations. But Native American Ministry still needs your support right now. And today, we also want to give back to those who may need spiritual support at this time. In this video, I want to offer you some insights into Native American spiritual traditions and the ways these traditions might bring strength and hope to your journey in these uncertain times. Thanksgiving can help us triumph over difficult circumstances. Now, Thanksgiving is a part of every Native tradition I know. It involves remembering our place in creation, our relationship with our Creator, and taking each day as a wonderful gift. The church also has a word for this gift. It is Eucharist. Now, that might sound like one of those high church words that no one really understands, but Eucharist really means thanksgiving. And that doesn't refer to our November holiday, but to a way of life. For Native people, that habit of thanksgiving is woven into all creation. I had an opportunity to examine this core of spirituality recently at a symposium for faith leaders. The topic was organ donation, and we had the normal complement of ethicists and scientists and theologians and other rascals. The most important guests, however, were the families of organ donors and the recipients themselves. In a few cases, we met the very people who had lost loved ones and the persons who now carried that gift of a beloved, beating heart. One of the recipients was talking about the psychological and spiritual strain he felt after that life-giving surgery. He said, "I couldn't bear to think that anyone else might have to die so that I could live." Now, I certainly wouldn't dare to tell that man how to feel or how to make peace with that beating heart within his body. But I can tell you that in my spiritual tradition, we understand that it is not possible to have the gift of life without being given that gift of life. Sometimes that gift is beautiful. Sometimes it's terrible. But at all times, it is the gift of life which makes life possible. In fact, I would say that it just might be the peculiar American myth of self-sufficiency, which creates the illusion that we can have life without that price. In other words, Americans are prone to believe that we can all have Easter without going through the price of Good Friday. But if you're alive, it's because life has been laid down and given away so that you might have life. In our Native American warrior culture, we're called to lay down our lives for one another. And of course, everyone knows what a Native American looks like, right? All warriors ride ponies bareback and have steely-eyed stares. Here's a photo of warriors as you might know them from the movies. That's actually me on the left, the far left. Well, the truth is that a healthy community is a place where you're more likely to find a warrior out cutting wood for an elderly widow than to be out chasing buffalo on horseback. Oh, it's easy to lay down your life when you're called upon to be brave and vanquish some evil foe. But real heroes show up every day to stand for those who cannot stand for themselves. Jesus understood that. When Jesus said, "The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep," that's what he meant. The sheep were herded into a stone fold like this. This one is still in use in the Holy Land today. And at night, the shepherd would lay down in that gap. He would lay down his life for the sheep. Any creature that wanted to come in to kill, any thief that came in to steal, had to go through the shepherd. The good shepherd is the one who stands in the gap. And that's what great warriors do every day of their lives. Oh, and by the way, that's also the reason that in our traditional societies, women have always been honored as the greatest warriors among us. Well, of course, men, you see, can only save life by spilling blood. Women can give life through their blood. That's an act of courage, sacrifice, and heroism that no man can match. That is a true warrior spirit. But you see, it's not just human nature that's designed to give life that we might have life. All creation follows our Creator's design. We believe that this is because God made creation to reveal spiritual truth. All creation sings of the Eucharist. Did you see the sun come up this morning? The sun is the source of all energy on earth, either directly or indirectly. And that energy is the source of life. But the sun that we enjoy is burning itself out. It's giving its very life that we might have life. It is slowly dying to give us our daily resurrection. In our native tongues, the trees around us are not inanimate. We call them the tall people, and we would never think of felling a tree without pausing to acknowledge that gift of life. Regardless of where you're watching this, I would say that you can look around you and see all the ways that the tall people have given their very lives so that you could have warmth and shelter and comfort, and not least of all, beauty. Even your very next breath is given by the tall people that you might have life. The tall people lay down their lives so that we two-legged ones can have life. The river is not just running water. We call the river Longman, and when we drink of the river, we are drinking the very lifeblood of earth. The Longman gives us that life from his veins. Now pause to look at the night skies above and consider how many stars burn above us. Every one of them is a sun, and every one of them, like our sun, is burning itself out. It is giving its life to light up our darkest night. How special is that? Now, the popular explanation is that there was a random cosmic explosion which caused all of this by chance. We're not special, we're not unique. In the vast cosmos, there are infinite numbers of planets just like us. But what if this really was all created by a loving God just to fill us with a sense of wonder and awe and thanks living? Just imagine what it would mean if God created all of this just so we could look up at night and say, Wow. Just consider the possibility that God created the whole cosmos to show just how big our Thanksgiving can be. Yes, I know there's the possibility that God created life in other corners of the galaxy, and when they show up, we'll share Jesus with them too. But for the time being, there is no evidence of anything extraterrestrial walking around on this earth, flying over our heads. The best we can do has provided no concrete evidence of that. All we have is this glorious world and the starry skies above. As a matter of fact, I'd say there's more solid evidence that Sasquatch is running around suburban Washington, D.C., than that there are aliens running around our planet. The problem is that our world is designed to make us forget how much God has given that we might have life. We are surrounded by gifts of life, cleverly wrapped to deny that life was ever laid down. I confess, I don't think about that while I'm shopping. I don't fall down on my knees beside the ground chuck to thank God for the creature's life that was sacrificed to be wrapped up in neat little packages of styrofoam and cellophane. In fact, while I'm shopping, I don't feel grateful at all. Now, if I take a deer in the woods, I realize immediately that a life has been given for me, and I pause to give thanks for that gift of life. But the gift of life we consume so eagerly is packaged to make us forget that our lives depend on the gift of life. And if you're a vegetarian, don't think you're getting away from that Eucharistic gift of life so easy. These days, scientists know that plants communicate with each other when one of them is sick or distressed. That bunch of broccoli on your plate gives its life to you just as surely as a deer or a cow. In fact, we inhale living bacteria with every single breath, and many of them die in the process. Every breath we take is laden with the gift of life. Yes, even the gasoline in our tanks gives its energy because it was once a creature that laid down its life. We call that energy petroleum. God calls it Eucharist. When we consider it, we see ourselves as part of the great network of thanksgiving. Now, even if you drive an all-electric car, the energy it uses still comes from life itself. Nevertheless, even as gas prices reach historic lows during this crisis, I'll confess to you, I don't find myself kneeling down at the gas pump to thank God for that gift of life. Truth is, I don't think of it at all. All I think about is how long will it take to get this thing filled up. It's not just at the supermarket or the gas pump that we forget. A high price has been paid so that we might have life. So in our Christian tradition, God calls us to his table to clear up our amnesia, our forgetfulness, our wandering minds that keep us from pausing for thanksgiving. The early church called that our anamnesis, our sacrament of remembrance. Do this in remembrance of me. Doctors still use that term, anamnesis. The anamnesis is the patient's account of what's going on. When the doc says, So what seems to be the problem? We give her our story. Now, our stories are not scientific studies. They're not a technical diagnosis. They are our memories. What's been going on? What's been going okay? What needs healing? What feels just fine? Here's the thing. God knows that thankful living changes your story. When we pause to remember what has been done for us, it reminds us that our lives have been bought with the precious gift of life. It reminds us how much your life is worth. We are no longer hopeless and helpless, random sinners. We become children of the Most High God, gifted with a new story and ready for God's new diagnosis for thanks living. For Native people, our stories change when we pause to see the stars, when we take time to listen to the trees, when we hear the eternal voice of the ocean's roar, when we feel the cool evening breath of the mountain. All creation teaches thanks living. All creation changes our story when we know our place in creation, and we know that we're not worthless accidents of random occurrence. We are beloved and blessed children of God whose lives are more valuable than we will ever know. For Native believers, creation is calling us like never before. Today, our world needs healing. Our land needs healing. And we believe thanks living is the key. A new memory is out here in the skies, and here in the streams, and over here in the sunrise. The Good Shepherd calls us to be warriors, to stand in the gap so that we can lay down our lives that others might have life. As we stand for them, we receive new life as well. So how does it change life when we live as warriors? When our Eucharist extends beyond our table to touch the whole world? Please allow me to bring our discussion back full circle for a moment. Here's a story I learned at that seminar on organ donation. The happy bride in this picture is named Jenny. The man escorting her down the aisle here is not her father. Her dad, Michael, was murdered just a few blocks from where this ceremony is taking place at a church in Pittsburgh. The man at her side on this special day is named Arthur Thomas, and beating within his chest is a heart donated by Jenny's dad. As she stood at the altar, she was able to reach out her hand and feel her father's heartbeat. At that seminar, it was a man in Arthur's position who posed that question. Did someone else have to die that I might live? But I want to turn the answer upside down. Since I have received this gift of life, this awesome, beautiful, terrible, holy gift of life, how can I give life back? Jenny's dad didn't have to die. That murder was not God's will. But even in death, Michael chose to give life. He made the warrior decision. Now, in receiving that gift, Arthur could have denied that he owed anybody anything. He could have forgotten how that price was paid, but instead he put aside his privacy and reached out to Jenny so that she could have her dad's heart beating beside her. He chose to give part of his life so that murder was not the end of Michael's story. Arthur stood in the gap like a warrior, and he gave life where there was no life. That is what warriors do every day. And that is what Jesus did. No, that's what Jesus does for you. Like Arthur, your gift of life is burning within you. Like the billions of stars burning in the night, like the river flowing to the sea, your light is shining for those who have none. Your gift of thanks living is much bigger, much more powerful, and much more precious than you think. Let that gift give life and hope to others until it joins creation's unending song. Live like a warrior. No virus will ever be able to hold you back. Thank you for sharing your gift of life with us today. Thank you for standing in the gap. Thank you for being God's chosen warrior. And thank you for supporting Native American Ministries.